You need to confront your biggest fear, which is abandonment. You need to allow yourself to get abandoned. You need to allow your nervous system to feel that abandonment. You need to go back into your trauma. You have to feel it. The only way out is through.
This creator says that dismissive avoidants are never going to really change and come closer to you because most of them have hubris, thinking that they are the ones that are securely attached and that you, the anxious avoidant, are the problem and the one that needs the most help. And I can attest that this is true. Please go watch the whole video because she makes several good points. She sent this to me because my very first video that went viral was me ranting for less than 60 seconds about how anxious attachers are always advised by therapists and thought leaders here on TikTok to leave the avoidant alone. That when we're both triggered, the anxiously attached should just sit in their dysregulation without any kind of support from their avoidant partner and leave the avoidant alone to go be avoidant because the avoidant is triggered. So it's not fair that the anxiously attached has to sit alone in their trigger with no relief and no help from the avoidant, but the avoidant is allowed to just go be avoidant, thereby calming their nervous system and not having to deal with the problem anymore. And that is an error from thought leaders and an error from therapists. We need to find a better way that is more fair to both the anxiously attached and the avoidantly attached. And do you want to know why that video went viral, my first video? Because anxious attachers are sick and goddamn tired of being told over and over again that they're the broken ones and they're the problem and that they should just go off alone and be abandoned by their avoidant partners and allow the avoidance to have their way in avoiding connection and intimacy, and honestly, in showing up for their partners. And do you know why anxiously attached people are sick of it? Because it feels wrong in our body. When we are left alone by our avoidant partners and our avoidant partners are allowed and in fact encouraged by thought leaders to go off into avoidance and not have to face their shadows and not have to do the shadow work that the anxiously attached is then left to do alone, it feels wrong in our bodies as the anxiously attached because we are self-abandoning when we do that. And any time that we are self-abandoning in a relationship, that relationship is toxic. We should be able to step forward with our anxious attachment and be loved by our avoidant partners. And yes, both are triggered. And yes, we need to find a common ground where both can feel safe. But just allowing the avoidant to go off into avoidance is not the answer because they then not doing any shadow work. They are not facing themselves. They are falling back on their old coping patterns that have really messed up their love lives, if we're being honest. Most avoidants that I know jump from relationship to relationship thinking that this next relationship is going to be the golden ticket, and it's not. They have a series of relationships that they've screwed up, nothing long term, because they've never been advised or encouraged to face their shadow the way the anxious attacher is and actually come to a more securely attached place and show up for their anxiously attached partner. So what this creator says in her video is that the anxiously attached person needs to shut themselves off from the avoidant and stop worrying about making the avoidant happy and making the avoidant feel safe and go inward and attend to their own anxiety and their own needs. Don't leave the avoidant alone because you're worried about bothering them. Don't let that be the motivation for you leaving them alone. Go and self-soothe yourself so that you can then show up in your relationship and assertively ask for what you need. And if your avoidant partner cannot do the shadow work and the evolution to meet you where you're at and to meet your needs, then c'est la vie. Leave that relationship because they will never change or do intense shadow work to meet your needs if it is not something that they want for themselves. And as she says in her video, most avoidants have hubris, thinking that because they're the more detached and because society looks at them as if they're somehow more stable because they are cold and detached. They don't believe that they actually need to get help, that they need to do shadow work, and they will continue to scapegoat you as the anxiously attached, as the hysterical one that needs to fix themselves, and then all the problems will dissipate if you fix yourself. It's erroneous. The avoidantly attached person is just as damaged as the anxiously attached person. In fact, in most cases, they are yearning for connection deep down because they've been avoidantly attached their entire lives and they have never felt true intimacy, vulnerability, and connection. And unless they want to do the deep shadow work to be worthy of that deep love and connection, then you need to cut your losses, protect yourself, go inward, heal your own anxious attachment so that you can then attract a partner that will show up for you, that does not make you feel like you're too much,